I used to wash cars and I worked at gas stations. So what I could afford when I was 15 was a 1959 Fiat 600 suicide doors. And for $110, it just made me happy. Might as well have been a Porsche. And I started from there, and why I didn't get off of that, I don't know. My name is Scott Sylvester, and I'm driving a 1967 Toyota Sports 800. Not many people know much at all about these because they were only made for the Japanese market. And so in this case, the total production was 3,131 over the 4 years they made them, but only about 300 or less were in the left-hand drive. Coming out of the war, Japan was actually making most all of their cars under license to other manufacturers. They didn't have their own ideas. And it was when the Japanese ministries decided we really should build for our own needs because they had such a bad gas crisis and the roads were all small. These were the first of the fun sports cars for the Japanese public. They chose the engine itself was already had been produced for the public. And believe it or not, it was also used in certain buses in Tokyo. By choosing the Publica, then they went to work by stripping it down and putting different bodies on it, and it was designed at Datsun in the wind tunnel, primarily because if they could cheat the wind, even with lower horsepower over Honda, they actually could pull the Honda at the higher speeds for long periods of time. Being mostly aluminum except for the cylinders, they upstepped the displacement to 800 cc's. They doubled the carburetors. It has 2 ISON carburetors on fairly long range. Then they had a hotter cam, higher compression, and offered 4 different gear ratios as well, depending upon what the person was going to use it for. Take a look at the direct front nose. Obviously it has a small scoop area. It had a classic design statement of Toyota with the lighting inboard. That allowed them, first of all, to cover the headlight with plexiglass. One of the only Japanese cars at the time to have done that. But take a look at the fenders. It's rare to see the actual metal being shaped left and right of the headlight. So the whole front is meant to capture as least amount of air as possible. It had to be not only aerodynamic, it had to be lighter by a couple hundred pounds than anything else. So if you look at the hood, it is hand-turned aluminum. It has air outlets like you would see on hot rods. It has actually aircraft aluminum seats. They look with the rivets just like you would see on a period 1960s or 50s airplane. This car weighs 1,268 pounds. It takes a lot of engineering in the 60s to hit something like that. It has a very light-hearted character. They have a unique suspension on it, which probably gives it a lot of it. Obviously, you can see that it has a low center of gravity, and because of that, it really doesn't have a lot of swing or sway. They have sufficient anti-sway bar up front, which is rather large actually for a Japanese car of its style. Much more room in it than one would ever imagine, probably because of that teeny little engine sitting far forward. It allowed them to put in foot room, and your feet are basically straight out. In Japan, the Yodahachi, which is kind of a slang for Toyota 8, is an icon car for them. It is very difficult to find parts. However, through Japan auctions, I worked for all those years constantly looking for people who had parts for these, and I would one by one buy them. At the same time I was disassembling it and waiting for the chance to put it back together with the parts. This might be one of the very, very few restored in its condition. At the shows, the Japanese will come up and just thank me for having a Yodahachi. I said, you gotta get used to it if you own one. Toyota garners a really different response. The first thing is, it's always, what is it? But the second thing is, you hear them scream, it's a Toyota? It says a lot for Toyota's brand, that it means a lot to people when they see it's a Toyota, but it really shakes their brain up a bit in confusion. Invariably, the questions come, what are you going to do with these? What do you have them in the first place? What are you going to do with all of them? Well, right now, I'm just going to enjoy the heck out of them. And I guess I'm spoiled. I've spoiled myself by sticking with a few fun cars for a lot less money, or about the same as one big supercar.